politics. Well, let's start by saying that our country is in serious trouble. It's in serious trouble. We have $17 trillion in debt. We have a real unemployment of 21%. Forget the 8.2% nonsense. The real number is 21%. You know, the numbers are such that you can't read them anymore. When you're looking for a job and then you give up, they take you off the unemployed, and your number doesn't show up. So we're anywhere from 16 to 21%. The world is laughing at us. We're like a bunch of patsies. China is taking advantage of us like nobody has ever done before. China, I sold an apartment recently for $53 million in a building in New York, and a great building. All my buildings are great. To a Chinese gentleman who, in all fairness, I'm not knocking Chinese leadership. If you can get away with it, get away with it. But he said, how do we get away with this? He actually is asking me, how do we get away with it? Our leaders don't get it. Let me give you a little example. The Olympics. We wanted to get the Olympics in Chicago. Now, the President of the United States makes a trip to Europe on Air Force One. Trip must have cost probably $10 million if you knew what these planes cost with all the security. He goes there to make the case that the Olympics should come to the United States. This is called amateur hour. He gets an audience and he leaves. So I say to myself, oh, we've got the Olympics, it's done. Because no president of the United States would have ever gone to Europe and made such a big deal unless he got or had a wink and a nod, meaning you come here, you're getting it. Not only didn't we get it, we came in fourth place. Now think of this. This is the way our country is run. We are losing our jobs and our manufacturing to other places. You know, we talk about Apple. Everyone's talking about Apple. And Apple's wonderful. But they don't make their product here. They make it mostly in China. So what are we gaining? You know, we're not gaining. They make the product. Why can't we make computers? Why can't we make cell phones? Why can't we make the iPhone in this country? We should be doing it here. We just seem to have lost our edge. And now we're in a position that unless things take place and take place fast, we are going to be, for many, many years to come, in serious trouble to the point that I don't know that you can really come back. OPEC. Take a look at OPEC. You go to their airports. You see where they live. You see the way they live. Unbelievable. Then you come in to LaGuardia, to Kennedy, to LAX, and it's horrible. It's like a third world country. We're spending money that we don't have. We're borrowing money from China to fight in Libya, so they go out and kill our ambassador and other Americans. And then guess where China gets a lot of its oil? From Libya. We don't get the oil from Libya, China does. And I see that. And I made the statement, and people said, oh, it's so controversial. It's so controversial. We get called by the Libyans. They were being routed, if you remember. They were being routed by Gaddafi. It was over. So the rebels, you know, like Gone with the Wind, the nice romantic term, rebels. Most of them came from Iran, and they were fighting us in Iraq. But the rebels convinced us to spend billions of dollars on helping them. Now, when they come, just like the Olympic story, what president would do that unless you know you're going to win? Same story here. They come, they're about over, it's 2 days from the end, and they say, we need help. Now, if Jerry were in this position, if I were in this position, or if somebody that had some brain power, we're in the position. And some people disagree with this, and I don't know, maybe you people will disagree. I would have said very simply, We will help you, but we want 50% of your oil. And they would have said, absolutely. And the only reason I wouldn't have asked for 75% is because I want to be a nice person, okay? Like you. And they would have said, absolutely. Now if you said it, horrible. Same thing in Iraq. We go into Iraq. You know what? Iran, in order to get to Syria, is flying their planes directly to Iraq because it's a much shorter trip. So Iraq has the second largest oil reserves in the world. We go into Iraq. We spend $1.5 trillion. They hate us, and we get nothing. You know, in the old days, when you had a war, it was to the victor belong the spoils. Today, we get nothing. We go into a war, we decimate a country, and then we come out, and what do? It's horrible. The way this country is being run is horrible. We have such unbelievable potential, such incredible. Now, we could have said at a certain point during the Iraqi war, well, listen, we're going to stay, we're going to help you out a little further, but we want a lot of your oil. We want to pay, at least give us back $1.5 trillion, which sounds like a lot of money. It's peanuts. They have $9 trillion worth of oil. Give us some money back. So it's now the opposite. I heard the other day where an Iraqi, probably potential killer, said, we want the United States to pay for all the destruction they've done to our country. And one of these idiot politicians will probably say, you know what, that's the only fair thing to do. So what we're doing with our country is oblivion. I've said, and Michelle's heard me say it, and I hope she does great in her, it's going to be a tough one, right? She's 2 points up, tough area, but you're going to win. You better win. But I've said that in terms of this country, we don't need OPEC. We have so much oil. You probably, with your luck, Joe, you probably have it right under here. I don't know if you want to touch it, but you have it right under here. But we have so much oil and so much energy that, in all fairness, 4 years ago, we didn't know existed. Between the natural gas and actual oil, and it's pure, beautiful oil. We don't need OPEC. We should have approved the pipeline from Canada, but we don't need Canada. We don't need anybody. Now, I left New York, and New York is being flooded with presidents from, and dictators and everybody. You got some dictators, you got some presidents, some are sort of a combination of both. They call themselves president, but they're actually a dictator. But we got hundreds of them. They're in New York. We have a president that's in New York. You know how many meetings he's going to have? Not one. He's not meeting with one foreign leader. Now, they talk about our country. They talk about how Barack Obama has done so well in foreign relations and his foreign policy. He's so brilliant. Everything's terrible. You know, he gets the greatest press of anybody that I think I've ever seen. You talk about Teflon. I've never seen anything like it. I heard somebody saying the other day that he's an expert on foreign policy. He went over to Cairo, Egypt, and made a speech. Mubarak was overthrown, and now they hate us. And we give them billions of dollars. And we continue to give them billions, and they want more money. But they still hate us. It's inconceivable what's going on. So, here's the story. If this country doesn't shape up and shape up quickly, it's going to be very, very hard to recover, number one. Number two, we have an election coming up that outside of the biggies, you know, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, we had a couple of biggies, right? And maybe more important than them. This is, I think, going to be the most important election that we've ever had. There's never been a time in our country's history where a presidential election was more important, because our country is going in the wrong direction. Our dollar is being devalued. The world is laughing at us. They think we're stupid. And I see the way Liberty University has been run. I've seen where you came from and how it was a struggle and how brilliant it is right now. Our country has this same potential if we ever wanted to do something about it. As an example, the trillions of dollars that we give on energy, if we took it for ourselves and actually took it, whatever we don't need, we export it, we can take care of our deficits. We can take care of our $16 trillion, which will turn out to be peanuts by comparison to the kind of numbers you're talking about. So the potential is enormous. Hopefully the right things happen in a month and a half, and we get back on track, because the next subject that we're going to discuss just briefly is success. Do you guys, I see all these handsome young men in the front, and I see all these beautiful young women. Do you guys want to be successful or don't you care? Okay, you better believe it. So let's talk about it, okay? All right? Boy, does he have a, stand up, I love this guy, stand up, look at these guys. You have great people, I love them. Because I was no different when I was 20 years old, believe me. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to get out of Brooklyn. I said, Pop, I love you, but I want to get out of Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn, but I want to get out. And I love those buildings. When I looked from Queens and Brooklyn, and I'd see those big buildings, those big skyscrapers in Manhattan. I said, Pop, that's what I want to do. That's what I wanted to do. And lots of things can happen.